My name is Gevelb. My mother and father lived in the East End, in Jubilee Street, off of Commercial Road. My father came over from Poland when he was a young child, very young child, possibly in the 1890s. My mother was born here. She lived in the West End in Dean Street. And eventually they moved to Jubilee Street through the years, and they owned a sweet shop, which was very nice for me and my older brother. I had another brother who was unfortunately killed in the war. He was in the St John's ambulance. He was killed with a cousin of ours. And that's where I lived till I was 14, until we moved to near Hambury Street off of Brick Lane. My background was reasonable, like any other kid in the East End. Primary school, secondary school. Then left with 15 to go to work. Well, it was something to do. I mean, you couldn't sit at home all day long. Televisions weren't that very good and the programs weren't that very much. And when he was 13, rock and roll had started. And as you know, when you're 13, you start getting a little bit boisterous. And you want something to let out all your energies. And somebody whispered in my ear there was a good boys club. You could do lots of things. You could play football, which your ears pricked up straight away. So I joined the club like every other young kid. There was hundreds of kids running around. It was unbelievable. So yeah, we played football. I boxed. I swam. I did most of the sports. The only one I didn't compete in was lawn tennis because I couldn't see over the damn net. Other than that, I think I've done most of the sports, which was marvellous. Met most of my friends playing football and all the other sports that we enjoyed, cricket. Never knew anything about deprivation at all. My mother and father weren't wealthy, but nevertheless there was always food on the table, everything was clean. My father was a tailor. He was a master tailor. He made my suits, and my jackets and what have you. And yeah, like I said, we had a sweet shop, so the sweets and chocolates were at my fingertips if I wanted. But as far as deprivation, it was there, but you never got amongst it. You just ignored it. You carried on. I got most of the things that I stomped my little feet for. Even a car when I was 17, which was because I wanted a motorbike, and no, you're not having a motorbike. So instead they bought me a little car to start off with, which was, wow, I was like king of the road, 17. I wouldn't dare get into trouble because of my father. He was very, very well known in the East End. So wherever I went, if I did do anything that I shouldn't do, it came straight back to my father because they knew I was Frank Gevelb's son. I often wonder what would have happened to us if there wasn't a club to focus on. It was something where you all your energies went into at the club. You met friends, which I still got now. I've had them for 65 years, the same friends, which is absolutely marvellous. And many places in London that you haven't been to, but there's a Brady boy there. Brady girl, and you would be made. You knock on the door, you'd be made welcome. I haven't seen them for 10 years, but they were a Brady boy, and it was like it was like a group, and it still exists. As long as we're alive, it still exists. There was also the rock and roll, the discos wasn't called discos at the time. It was socials. We used to go across to the girls' club, dance with the girls, meet with the girls, mix with the girls, which was fantastic. But I started learning to play the guitar. Started with the drums at first and then switched to guitar. And it was great because a couple of other boys also had little guitars, and we, as they say nowadays, we just jammed along until we were pushed into forming a group called the Lumberjacks, which won the World Skiffle Championships in 1957. It was just marvellous, marvellous. You can't enjoy yourself on your own. You've got to mix with other kids of 15 and 14, having a laugh, getting up to mischief, doing things that nowadays you did I do that? You know, and it's just all the other kids enriched your life because you were mixing, and they were mixing with you. They got your experiences, we got their experiences. It was just a one big family. I met my wife at the Brady club. She was at the girls' club, and we used to go over there for dances. In fact, she lived just round the corner to me, and I used to walk her home, and the rest is history. I can't even count how many boys and girls sort of teamed up together. It's just, and their children, you know, we're all friends with their children. They're like family to us. Oh, the kinship of having, I don't know, a family of maybe hundreds of boys, men, grandfathers, you know, grandmothers. That's where it is. You could, like I said before, you can go anywhere and bump into a Brady boy or girl, and it was like yesterday. And that's what for me the whole legacy is. The one standout thing for me was the club leader, Yogi Mayor. To me, he was, I couldn't respect a man more. He was like, I wouldn't say a father figure, but he was a figure. And we always had a good laugh with him, a good rapport with him. I remember shouting at him once and he just laughed. And I thought, my God, I got away with that one. You know, but he was a wonderful man. A wonderful figure. I didn't go into his background actually. For me, he was who he was. I obviously read a few things about him, but he was just a great man. He wasn't severe, he wasn't harsh, very fair, but you knew you couldn't get away. You couldn't mess around with him. You knew what he said. You did, and if he said don't do it, you didn't do it. That's to me, it was Yogi. But the fun you had over the years, which was and still are, it was, you know, you couldn't buy it. It's just in your own personal history. It's just abounding the fun we had. What do the kids do apart from sitting in front of their iPads and whatever gizmos they've got? They don't mix like we do. I think they're brave in one sense, but I think they're afraid in other sense to get together. That's how I see it. It's a real shame that there's no youth clubs. There's nothing for them to aim at and to be on their own, but not on their own, away from their parents for so many hours and just let loose. I think they're afraid to do that now. When we were young, we just let loose. There was no holding us. The managers, they looked after us, but there was no holding us. There was no limits. There was no bars. You did what you did, as long as you didn't hurt anybody or embarrassed anybody. Well, you did. You embarrassed people, lots of people. But it was all done in good fun, which we weren't nasty. Things we got up to, we upset people, but it didn't matter, which was great.